Hello sweet friends and welcome back to Silverhawk Farm. I'm Bree if you are new here, and we are once again in my kitchen, and I am so excited because today is a canning day. I started canning I think a couple years ago. My mother-in-law's really into it, so she was like, I always wanted to can, but it was really nice having someone who will actually answer questions for me and be available. So for my birthday, I got this very fancy, very incredible electric pressure canner. I canned up some beans yesterday just to test it out. They say don't test it with water, and that's valid, but I'm an impatient person, and I figured if I canned some beans and it went badly, I'm out like $1 worth of dried beans, and like, that's fine. So I tested it out. I have some beautiful beans. They're a little murky. I'm new to canning beans. I'm gonna try again later. Look, I made it. It's beautiful. So today I'm going to be making some ready meals that are basically an entire meal or a major component of an entire meal in one jar. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of that over the next few days, so I believe there will probably be multiple videos of me going through this process. But I am so excited, and this thing makes it so easy. I do have a pressure canner that's a stovetop pressure canner, and I love it very much. I have a... Excuse the toddler in the background, he has opinions. But I do have a stovetop canner, and it works really, really well, and I love it. But you do have to really babysit it. But especially with a glass top stove, it can be frustrating to maintain the right temperature that you want. So this thing takes all of the guesswork out of it. You don't even need to pay attention to like what pressure it's reaching for different altitudes, because it does it based on temperature. It reminds you of everything every step of the way, and has not only the big instruction manual but a really handy guide. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm just excited about my birthday present. So we're gonna get up to some canning, and I have the Ball Book of Canning. This is the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. I have one other canning book that I refer to super regularly that I'm sure I'll break out here soon. And basically only USDA approved recipes in this baby. So it's very safe, very well tested, and very specific, but also has a lot of nice like alternatives and things that you can do to mix up your recipes. So I'm a huge fan of this one. And what we're gonna be making today is the Aztec chicken soup, which is on page 280 of this book. And I'll be sure to link below the Amazon link for this particular cookbook. So we're working with a poblano pepper, which is somewhere behind me, tomatillos, which is, these are fresh tomatillos. I've heard some places those can be kind of hard to come by. I'm actually growing them this year. I tried growing them last year, but it didn't work out. But I bought some starts for them this year. I'm excited to be making more tomatillos stuff. I've got some onion. I'm gonna go grab some cumin and some olive oil. We're gonna be mincing up some garlic. It takes lime, chicken broth, black pepper, and then chicken, which I have pre-cut up in the fridge. So we're gonna add all of those things together and make them into food. So the first step that the recipe calls for is roasting the peppers and the tomatillos in a 425 Fahrenheit or 220 Celsius degree oven. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We have it preheating back here. These have already been washed. It has you roasting them whole. So I decided to keep these whole just so you can see what they look like in case you're not familiar. But basically all you need to do is peel off the outer husk, and we have kind of a green tomato looking guy underneath. I'll get those off. This recipe calls for 6 tomatillos. I got a couple of extra. I'm probably not going to can with this one. I don't like the way it looks. See how the rest of them are really round. This guy's kind of shrivelly. But that's fine because I got a couple extra. I always get extra in events like this when I'm trying to work with really specific requirements. I generally will order some extra just to be safe. This one's a little softer, but it's not quite. I don't like the look of this guy. And you always want to be canning with high quality, good ingredients. All right, I'm back and I have a little bit of help here from my youngest, Nico. He has Doritos all over his shirt, which you're gonna pretend you do not see. It's a theme here. So, what we're gonna do first is we're gonna get these peppers into the oven, peppers, tomatillos, into the oven. They're going to bake for 25 minutes, and I want them to be blistering, and I need to turn the peppers every 5 minutes. So basically we're blistering it, we're getting the skin all nice and cooked up so that it easily comes off, I assume. So that's quite the process. I'm not gonna start the canner just yet because it doesn't take all that long to heat up. Only about 20 minutes. And yeah, so we'll get this in the oven and get it started, and I'll see you very soon. All right, friends, we have this beautiful tray of peppers and tomatillos. I feel like the tomatillos might be a little overcooked, but we're making soup, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, so we're going to be dicing up the tomatillos, and then we're going to be taking the skins off and cutting up the peppers. Okay friends, I have got all of my ingredients prepped. I have my jars all ready, and I am ready to start prepping the canner. I totally could have done this while I was doing the other stuff and getting the canner going, but honestly, I was eating some food. So I didn't have a chance to. So this is my electric pressure canner. I love it so much. It is the only pressure canner that is electric currently on this date in 2023 that is commercially available and USDA approved for pressure canning. Any other electric canners that you see, check the fine print. They're basically guaranteed to be water bath only. So this beauty can fit 7 of these wide mouth pint jars, but the recipe says it makes 6. I do have an extra jar handy just in case we end up with more than it calls for or that it says. Sometimes things get us just slightly off. So we've got all of that ready. This is super easy. If you've used an Instant Pot before, it's a pretty similar process. It's kind of a combination between like the canning process and using an Instant Pot. So this comes out. It comes with a trivet. This trivet keeps jars from shaking around and breaking in there, so this is important. It comes with the canner. And then inside this canner, way down here on the inside, and then you can also see on the outside, is how far I need to fill it up to pressure can. Not water bath can. Water bath can, you always need an inch above the lid of the jar you're canning with. So I'm gonna fill this up with water up to here. I'm going to fill these jars up with water halfway, and then we're gonna get it set on the warm jars function. Oh, quick note while I'm getting this set up, I have checked these all for nicks or dents. What you want to do is you want to feel with your finger around the rim of the jar and make sure that you don't feel anything. Also do a visual inspection. Same thing around this like curvy band that it tightens on. If there are any nicks, you do not want to use that jar for that purpose, but I still use those other jars for like fridge containers and stuff like that. They don't go to waste. And I did find one while I was looking through my jars and inspecting them that I set aside to show you. So if you see right here, there's just a little bit of glass missing where it is chipped away. And to me, once you're kind of used to it, there's a way that like when you look at it top down, you see that there's just this little imperfection. That's usually what tips me off before I've even done the actual check. So that's good to keep in mind. Always, always, always do that check because it can interfere with its ability to seal, and there's nothing more depressing than going through all of this work just to have something not seal and have to eat it, put it in the fridge and eat it like normal leftovers. So I have this, I have set it aside because I'm canning and I get a little frazzled when I'm canning. I did draw an X on this so I don't accidentally use it, but I have a few of those that I use just for leftovers. Okay, getting these filled, half filled with water. This is filled with water, and I'm getting the trivet put back in. All right, so I've got my handy dandy cheat sheet here. It's on the pressure canning method side. It's already getting destroyed, which is a sign of a good cookbook in my kitchen. This thing is all raggedy and covered in juice of all different types. So what I need to do is get it locked, get our buddy closed here. There's a gasket thing that goes on top. We keep that off until later in the process, so I have that off. I got really freaked out when it told me to do that because you pop it off and it doesn't feel like it should, but the instructions say you just pop it off, and you do. So we are going to go ahead and get this set for an hour and 15 minutes is what it's going to be pressure canning at for the pint-sized jars. We're going to go ahead and hit pressure can play, and then up to 75 minutes, because I know how to math, okay? And then we're gonna hit play, or it's, you know what, it's a play button. I'm hitting play, that's what I'm doing. It says insert jars, I already did that. I'm one step ahead of the game, and now it's warming. This is going to set on warming. It can take a variable amount of time depending on how much water is in there, the temperature of the water, that sort of thing. But I think the estimation is it takes about 20 minutes. After that point, and normally during this point is when I would be prepping my ingredients. I got them prepped ahead of time and got distracted. So we're gonna go ahead and let those warm up, and then once this is nice and warm, we're going to go ahead and get it set for pressure can and get everything filled up. And I will see you really soon. So we start by adding olive oil and onions, getting those nice and brown before we add the corn and the spices. And then we'll add in the chicken broth and let that steep for a few minutes along with the tomatillos and peppers, then adding the chicken for just a couple minutes. Labeling all of the lids so I don't forget what's in there, and then getting the soup moved over to put in our hot jars. Once the jars are all transferred over, I am filling it evenly as much as I can up to an inch below the rim of the jars, which is what the recipe calls for, and just double checking with my tool that they're all the right size and adding some water to the ones that were a little bit low, then wiping off the rim with some vinegar paper towel and getting the thing started. Waiting quite a while, and then once it's completely cooled down, pulling everything out. Good morning, friends. It is the next day, and a couple of these didn't seal, so I am going to be putting those into the fridge and being a little bit more conscious next time of doing a little bit tighter of a seal. So basically, anytime that you can something like this, if it doesn't seal properly, you need to treat it like leftovers. You need to get it in the fridge and you need to eat it within like 3 to 5 days, normal leftover stuff. So that's totally fine. We will have some tasty meals for right now, and with the inch of headspace, I could also freeze these and put them just directly in the freezer and they would be fine for that. So I'm going to put a couple of these in the fridge, but the ones that did seal, I'm going to let sit for another few hours. You need to wait 12 to 24 hours before you mess with it. I just noticed that some of them weren't sealing, and those I do want to get in the fridge right away. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today while we made some really easy meals and got some stuff going for my pantry. I'm going to be making a chicken coop today, and I need to go do some farm chores. So I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for hanging out. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye. Yeah, you tell them. Yeah, okay. All right. You done?